Friedrich Nietzsche's book titled The Antichrist. It is one of Nietzsche's later works, published in 1895, and it is considered one of his most controversial and polemical texts. In The Antichrist, Nietzsche criticizes and condemns Christian morality, particularly as it is embodied in the figure of Jesus Christ. He argues that Christianity, with its emphasis on humility, meekness, and other worldly ideals, has had a detrimental effect on humanity's development and has undermined individual flourishing and self-assertion. Nietzsche accuses Christianity of promoting a slave morality that devalues human instincts, suppresses the will to power, and fosters a culture of resentment. He claims that Christianity has weakened the strong and empowered the weak, and he expresses a longing for a reevaluation of all values that would lead to a more life-affirming philosophy. It's important to note that Nietzsche's writings can be complex and open to interpretation, and his views on religion and morality are highly controversial. The Antichrist is part of his broader critique of Western culture and philosophy and should be read within the context of his other works to fully understand his ideas. In The Antichrist, Nietzsche launches a scathing critique of Christian morality, particularly as it is exemplified in the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. Here are a few key points where Nietzsche expresses his condemnation. Slave morality. Nietzsche argues that Christianity promotes a slave morality that glorifies weakness, humility, and submission while condemning strength, power, and assertiveness. He sees this as a reversal of values, where virtues traditionally associated with the strong and noble, such as pride and ambition, are deemed sinful or evil. Nietzsche's concept of slave morality refers to a moral system that he believes originated among the weak, oppressed, and enslaved members of society. According to Nietzsche, Christianity perpetuates this slave morality by its emphasis on certain values and ideals. Suppression of the will to power. Nietzsche criticizes Christianity for suppressing the will to power, which he considers a fundamental drive in human nature. The will to power represents the desire for self-affirmation, strength, and the realization of one's potential. According to Nietzsche, Christian morality discourages the expression and fulfillment of this instinctual drive, resulting in the weakening and subjugation of the individual. Turning the other cheek. Nietzsche takes issue with the Christian teaching of turning the other cheek when faced with aggression or injustice. He sees this as an example of promoting a slave mentality. By encouraging individuals to passively accept mistreatment rather than assert themselves, by this example Nietzsche argues that Christianity perpetuates a culture weakness. Emphasis on poverty. Nietzsche points out that Christianity often glorifies poverty and portrays it as virtuous. He argues that by doing so, Christianity fosters a culture of resentment against wealth, success, and ambition. This devaluation of material prosperity and the pursuit of power, according to Nietzsche, hinders human potential and inhibits personal growth and fulfillment. Morality of pity and resentment. Nietzsche asserts that Christian morality promotes a moral framework centered around pity and compassion. While these virtues can be admirable, Nietzsche argues that an excessive emphasis on pity can lead to a culture of resentment. Pitying the weak and oppressed can breed feelings of resentment towards the strong, leading to a perceived moral superiority among the oppressed. Nietzsche's suggestion is that Christian morality fosters a culture of resentment through the promotion of victimhood, the moralization of power dynamics, the idealization of humility and meekness, the teaching of turning the other cheek, and the morality of pity and compassion. According to Nietzsche, this culture of resentment inhibits the development of a more life-affirming philosophy that embraces individual strength, self-assertion, and the pursuit of personal fulfillment. Nietzsche criticizes Christianity for its otherworldly focus, which he argues devalues the significance of earthly life and hinders the pursuit of personal fulfillment. Here's a more detailed explanation of Nietzsche's critique. Devaluation of earthly life. Nietzsche contends that Christianity places excessive emphasis on the afterlife and devalues the significance of earthly existence. The promise of eternal life in heaven can lead to a diminishing of the value of the present life, as it is seen as temporary and fleeting. This otherworldly focus can discourage individuals from fully engaging with and affirming their lives in the here and now. Denial of worldly desires. Nietzsche argues that Christian morality often promotes asceticism and the denial of worldly desires. The renunciation of pleasure and the emphasis on self-restraint can be seen as an attempt to detach from worldly matters. Nietzsche suggests that this denial of worldly desires restricts human potential and inhibits personal growth and fulfillment. Suppression of natural instincts. Nietzsche asserts that Christianity encourages the suppression of natural instincts and desires. The teachings on selflessness and the renunciation of worldly pleasures can lead to the repression of fundamental human drives and passions. This suppression, according to Nietzsche, stifles individual self-expression and the realization of one's potential. Dismissal of earthly achievements. Nietzsche criticizes Christianity's tendency to dismiss or downplay earthly achievements and aspirations. The focus on spiritual salvation and the belief in the insignificance of worldly accomplishments can discourage individuals from pursuing their goals and desires in this life. Nietzsche argues that this dismissal hinders the development of a life-affirming philosophy that embraces individual agency and the pursuit of personal fulfillment. Escape from reality. Nietzsche suggests that an otherworldly focus can lead to an escapism mentality. By redirecting attention towards an afterlife, Christianity can provide a means to escape the hardships and challenges of the present life. Nietzsche believes that this escapism mentality prevents individuals from fully engaging with and confronting the realities and complexities of human existence. Nietzsche's critique of the otherworldly focus of Christianity revolves around its devaluation of earthly life, the denial of worldly desires, the suppression of natural instincts, the dismissal of earthly achievements, and the potential for escapism. He argues that this focus impedes the development of a philosophy that embraces the value of individual existence and the pursuit of personal fulfillment in this world. Nietzsche's critique of Jesus Christ forms a significant part of his overall critique of Christianity. Here are some key points regarding Nietzsche's critique of Jesus Christ. Nietzsche portrays Jesus Christ as a misguided figure who embodies the ideals of Christian morality. He sees Christ as an embodiment of weakness, meekness, and selflessness, which Nietzsche regards as characteristics that perpetuate a slave morality. Nietzsche believes that Christ's teachings and example have had a detrimental effect on human development and hindered the pursuit of individual flourishing. Nietzsche argues that Jesus Christ's teachings and actions promote a slave morality. Christ's emphasis on turning the other cheek, loving one's enemies, and self-sacrifice reinforces a mentality of submission and self-deprecation. Nietzsche criticizes these teachings for encouraging the weak to resent the strong and for devaluing qualities associated with power and strength. Denial of life and earthly pleasures. Nietzsche takes issue with Christ's teachings that emphasize renunciation and detachment from worldly desires. He sees Christ's rejection of worldly pleasures, his emphasis on poverty and asceticism, and his focus on the afterlife as a denial of life and a devaluation of earthly existence. Nietzsche believes that this denial inhibits individual growth and the pursuit of personal fulfillment. Founder of slave morality. Nietzsche attributes the rise of Christian morality and its slave morality to the influence of Jesus Christ. He considers Christ as the originator of a moral system that glorifies weakness, humility, and self-sacrifice, while devaluing strength, power, and self-assertion. Nietzsche argues that the teachings of Christ and the subsequent development of Christian ethics have shaped Western culture in ways that he sees as detrimental. It is important to note that Nietzsche's critique of Jesus Christ is a part of his broader critique of Christian morality and its cultural impact. Nietzsche's views on religion and morality are highly controversial, and his interpretation of Jesus Christ and Christianity is subject to different interpretations. His purpose in critiquing Jesus Christ is to provoke a reevaluation of traditional values and to advocate for the emergence of a more life-affirming moral philosophy. Friedrich Nietzsche's book, The Antichrist, is not solely focused on critiquing Christianity but also serves as a broader critique of Western culture and philosophy. Here's an explanation of how the book encompasses a wider critique. Critique of moral systems. Nietzsche challenges the prevailing moral systems of his time, including Christian morality. He questions the foundations of morality itself and criticizes the morality based on concepts of good and evil, arguing for a reevaluation of values. Nietzsche believes that traditional Western morality, influenced by Christianity, has stifled individual potential and hindered the development of a more life-affirming philosophy. Critique of dualistic thinking. Nietzsche criticizes the tendency in Western culture and philosophy to engage in dualistic thinking. He argues that the distinction between good and evil, body and soul, and the material and the spiritual has led to a devaluation of the physical world and an overemphasis on transcendent ideals. Nietzsche challenges this dualistic framework and calls for a reintegration of the physical and spiritual aspects of human existence. Critique of truth and knowledge. Nietzsche questions the concept of absolute truth and challenges the notion of objective knowledge. He argues that truth is often a product of human interpretation and perspective, and different interpretations can coexist. Nietzsche criticizes the Western tradition's search for a single, fixed truth and encourages a more subjective and perspectival understanding of knowledge. Critique of herd mentality. Nietzsche critiques the herd mentality prevalent in Western culture, where individuals conform to societal norms and adopt a passive, unthinking approach to life. He calls for the emergence of the higher man, the individual who can transcend societal conventions and embrace their own values and desires. Nietzsche urges individuals to think critically and break free from the collective conformity of the herd. Critique of nihilism. Nietzsche explores the consequences of the death of God and the rise of nihilism in Western culture. He argues that the loss of religious belief and traditional values has left a void, and without a new, life-affirming philosophy, society is prone to succumbing to a nihilistic worldview. Nietzsche seeks to address this crisis by advocating for a reevaluation of values and the creation of new meaning. The Antichrist serves as a vehicle for Nietzsche to express his broader critique of Western culture and philosophy, questioning traditional moral systems, dualistic thinking, truth and knowledge, herd mentality, and the impact of nihilism. By challenging these aspects, Nietzsche aims to stimulate a re-examination of values and the cultivation of a more life-affirming philosophy that embraces individuality and the pursuit of personal fulfillment.